The Sashiko is all done. My vest just needs a few details. In part 2, I'll show you how to put the Boro pockets and patch on and how to put the lining in. Let's get started. I'm selecting from these scraps for my pocket. I'm sticking with the blues kind of colour and I think these will look good. I made the pocket and the back patch in exactly the same way. I selected fabric that I wanted to lay on there in the pattern. I spent quite a long time choosing and moving it around. I like this, and so I'm trimming it to the same size as the pocket I'm using underneath as the bag. This is not the actual pocket I ended up using on my vest. I actually made a smaller version, but I'm going to continue showing how I made this because the method was just the same. I'm layering my fabric and mist diffuse. Have a plastic safety sheet underneath, and this is parchment paper. This doesn't take very long for the iron to do its trick, but you should follow the manufacturer's instructions on whatever fusible you use. I'm just peeling it off here. And then the mist diffuse does stick a little bit to this plastic, but you can get it off quite easily. Just some gentle lifting here. I like mist diffuse for this. It's so light, it's easier to do the Sashiko through the layers. And I'm just cutting some of these apart. I always clean off the sticky bits, otherwise they'll be on the next fabric when I try to fuse something else. Now I've laid my fused pieces back on the pocket shape. And again, they're between the plastic iron sheet and the baking paper. And I'm just going to fuse these on here just the same way. I'll trim this down to size and then it'll be ready to do some Sashiko. Do you ever do things in sewing you regret? I think that looks great. Are you wondering why I didn't use it? I'm doing a zigzag over all of these little edges. Even though I've fused it, I don't want this to come apart. It's going to get a lot of wear and a lot of handling, so it needs to be secure in this case. I don't always do this on Boro, it just depends. I'm just doing straight lines on here for the Sashiko stitching. I used my cutting mat as a guide. On the dark area, I used this white Jerseys pen. And on the light area, I used the pink. They're both heat erasable. And I'm just going to do straightforward Sashiko stitching through here. I've got my Sashiko thimble, and I'll need it especially for this project. So this is going to be a little bit thicker to do Sashiko through. I'm not going to be able to do the long rows, which is traditional and which I like to do. I'll try and do a few stitches at a time, but I'll be limited by the thickness of the fabric. Even though it's thick, I'm still doing the tension control. This is really as much to plump up the stitches as worry about tension. It's so dense that I doubt that it's going to be a problem. And this is just straight Sashiko stitching. The straight lines will help me to keep this the way I want it. And of course on the light area, the white won't show up that much. It'll show up better on the dark. This pocket's so cute. Keep watching and I'll tell you what I did do with it. You can see how hard it is in some places to pull this needle through. This is over where I've done the zigzag stitch over the seam. You can use a little piece of rubber, that's what I use sometimes to pull the needle through. And I can see I may have to do this on some areas here. The first row's done here. You can see how the stitching shows much better on the dark area. I've decided to accent this flower. I'm going to do this before I do any more so I don't put white stitching through it. I'm using red, and I'm just going to go over all the clear white lines of the rose. Once I've covered it all, I'm actually going to weave the thread through almost kugori style to make a solid looking line. There's only space to do a couple of stitches at a time on this little section. And let me just show you what that looks like. Gives it just a little bit of an accent, something a bit different. This is the place for the pocket. I've turned in the edges. And do you see now why I decided not to use it? I just feel like it's too big. However, at this point, I did go ahead and sew it on. I did backstitch at the beginning of this because I wanted the pocket to be secure. In most of my quilting, you won't see me backstitch. It's not generally done on quilts. I took it off, and this is the pocket I used. It's a little smaller, but I did keep a red detail in the middle. It's not a flower, but I liked that red. The pocket didn't go to waste because I cut the centre of it out and made a patch on the back of the jacket. I added some Misty Fuse on the back, fused it to the back of the jacket, and it's at the bottom centre. I'll show you in a minute. And I'm just doing a zigzag all the way around the edge to hold it firmly in place. And I did do some more Sashiko stitches over the area. I'm going to add the lining. I sewed the shoulder seams and the side seams back together again. I need a section of the side seam open again because I am going to do some turning through. So I'm just going to unpick that. Now I could have just not sewn here when I put it together, but actually I was going to do it a different way and changed my mind. But it only takes a couple of minutes to unpick. And that should be a big enough opening. Now I'm going to arrange the lining and the jacket so the right sides are together. I'm matching the neck and the shoulder seams. And I'm just pinning as I go. Putting a lining in means that all that wrong side of Sashiko that you can see there will all be hidden. I'm making sure to match up side seams, and I also match the centre back and the centre back of the neck. I match the seams under the armholes as well. So this is actually the side seams, top of the side seam. And again, just put a pin in to hold it in place. The rest of the armholes I'll show you how to do later. I used the lining as the pattern for the jacket, so these armholes and everything, they all should fit really well, and that one just looks like it fits fine. Now I'm going to pin and match all the way around the outside edge of the jacket. So this will go all around the bottom and then up the front, around the neck and back down. In case you didn't see part one of this video, I have already done a zigzag stitch over all the edge of the denim because of the fraying risk. So that's already edged when this turns through. And this cotton doesn't seem to be prone to fraying, so I'm not going to worry about that. And now I'm going to sew all the way around the edge of the jacket. There'll be no need to stop. I'll just go all around the edges and come back to where I began. And here I'm back to the corner that I started at. This is the opening of the side seam, and I'm just going to put my hand in there and pull the whole of the denim jacket through to the right side. I still have to do the sleeves. Now I could just turn the edges of the sleeves in and hand sew, but I'm just going to do something different here. I need that side open seam again that I used earlier. Not that side. Yep, there it is. Now this is an important step. You might think you can skip it, but if you do, things may go wrong. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn just at the seam, a little bit of the edge in, and you're going to just fiddle around and put a pin on in between the inside. So what you want is when you turn this back through, you want your pin to be showing. So I don't want it to show there, I want it to show after I turn it. And I'm going to do the same at the armhole edge of the shoulder seam. Now I know where it's going, it's actually easier just to put my hand up into that opening and pin it from that side. This is the side seam, and just do the same thing with the shoulder seam. This is a little hard to show on camera because you can't really see what's what. But what I've done is I've pulled the whole armhole now through that opening so I can access it. And I'm pinning along, and I'm going at the front side of the armhole first from the pins that I put in there, and pinning along there, and then I'll turn it around and do along the back side of the armhole. I'm just fitting this curve together. Once I've got this all pinned, it'll be ready to put under the sewing machine and sew. Now I'm taking my time with this. It's a little awkward, it's curved, and I don't want to get any of the fabric from underneath. As I say, I'm doing this in 2 halves, so now I'm going to do the back side of the armhole. And I'm going to pin it and sew it in just the same way. This is a little fiddly. Originally I was going to hand sew these armholes, just turn the edges in and hand sew, but I do think this will give a much neater finish. That's sewn all the way around now. So here's the test when I pull it through and make sure that it's worked. And of course I'm just pulling it out back through that same side seam opening that I've been using all the time. And there we go. I'm actually pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to do the second armhole in exactly the same way. Now I think that I probably could put my hand in the same side seam opening and pull it through there, but I just feel more comfortable to close that side and open the side directly underneath the armhole. So that's actually the way I'm going to do it. Otherwise it's going to be no different. And once I opened that second side seam, I could then pull through the first side seam and sew it on the inside. This will close it neatly, and I'll only have one side seam open at a time. I'm going to work this second armhole in exactly the same way, so I'm not going to repeat showing this on camera. I pressed the vest and pinned all the way around the edge because, as you can see, I'm doing some top stitching here. It doesn't show it that much with the navy thread, but it's an important part of finishing off the vest. I did it all the way around the edge of the vest and the armholes. The last thing I did was put this little fastener on the vest. It's more decorative than anything. I'm probably not going to fasten this when I wear it. And I just hand sewed this on after I finished making it. I'm pleased with how this came out. I'll get a lot of wear out of it. I do regret not using the original pocket because now I think this one was too small. But my biggest regret of all was that I cut this pocket up, so I can't put it back on now. Maybe I'll just make another, but that's for another day. Thanks for watching.